Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again, sifting through the studies to bring you the insights that matter. And today, we are tackling a really big one. It's everywhere, omega-3.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most talked about supplements out there. Hard to miss.
Exactly. So our mission today isn't just to list facts. We want to get into the context. We're digging into the source materials to see, okay, what are the real scientifically backed benefits? Why all the buzz now?
And crucially, what are the risks? Because, natural doesn't always mean harmless.
Right. The goal is for you, listening, to figure out if supplementing with this essential fat is actually necessary for you. So let's start with the basics. Omega-3s. They're polyunsaturated fats, and they're called essential, which means, well, our bodies can't make them.
Nope. Got to get them from our diet. And the main ones we're usually talking about are EPA, that's Eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid.
Got it. And food sources, where do we primarily find these?
Think fatty fish.
Yeah.
Blue fish like salmon, herring, mackerel, tuna. Some shellfish have them too. Those are the dietary powerhouses.
Okay, but what about people following plant-based diets? We hear a lot about ALA, alpha-linolenic acid.
Right. ALA is the precursor. Found in things like flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts. The body tries to convert ALA into EPA and DHA.
Tries? Sounds like there's a catch.
There is. The conversion rate. Well, it's often pretty inefficient. It can be quite limited, particularly if your overall diet isn't optimal.
So just eating nuts and seeds might not cut it if you're strictly vegan.
Often, no. The sources are pretty clear on this. You might need to look for specific vegan sources, like microalgae oil, which directly provides EPA and DHA.
Okay, that brings us to the big question. If they're essential, and we can get them from food, why this huge push for supplements right now? Why is everyone talking about it?
Well, it really comes down to a major problem in the modern diet. It's less about an omega-3 deficit on its own, and more about a massive overload of omega-6 fatty acids.
Ah, the omega-6 situation. Also essential fats, but we know they tend to be pro-inflammatory, right?
Exactly. They're not inherently bad, but the ratio between omega-6 and the anti-inflammatory omega-3 is absolutely critical for balance.
And historically, what did that ratio look like?
Historically, human diets were probably around, say, 3-to-1, maybe 5-to-1, omega-6 to omega-3. That's considered a healthy balance.
Okay, and now the sources paint a different picture.
A drastically different picture. It's pretty shocking, actually. In many industrialized countries, like the U.S., for example, that ratio has just exploded. Think 15-to-1.
15-to-1, wow.
Sometimes even pushing 20-to-1. It's largely due to the explosion of refined seed oils, corn oil, soybean oil in ultra-processed foods.
20-to-1, that sounds like you're constantly fueling inflammation inside your body.
That's exactly what the sources suggest. It creates what they call a pro-inflammatory biological terrain. This constant low-grade systemic inflammation impacts cardiovascular health, brain function, metabolism, pretty much everything.
So that's the context driving this whole supplement conversation. It's about trying to counterbalance this inflammatory overload.
Precisely. It's an attempt to regain some balance in a system that's way out of whack.
Okay, so let's get into the fixes. If the problem is widespread inflammation fueled by this imbalance, where does omega-3 supplementation really make a proven difference? Let's start with the heart and metabolic health. The evidence seems strongest there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the single most consistent finding, especially for EPA, is its impact on triglycerides.
Triglycerides. Why is lowering them such a big deal metabolically?
Well, high triglycerides are a major warning sign. They're a hallmark of metabolic syndrome, often linked with insulin resistance, and that chronic low-grade inflammation we just talked about.
So lowering them is a direct hit against a key risk factor for heart disease and metabolic issues.
It really is. It improves the overall metabolic picture significantly.
Okay, now for something that surprised me in the research to this LDL paradox, my first thought was omega-3 must lower all cholesterol numbers, right? But the sources say it might actually slightly increase total LDL. How does that work?
Yeah, that definitely makes you pause. But it's a classic case of needing to look beyond the headline number. It's not just about how much LDL you have, but the type of LDL.
Ah, the size of the particle.
Exactly. What omega-3 seems to do by lowering triglycerides is shift the LDL profile away from the small, dense, dangerous type of LDL.
The type that easily gets stuck in artery walls and forms plaque.
That's the one. Omega-3 seems to reduce those small, dense particles and favor the production of larger, fluffier LDL particles, which are considered much less atherogenic, less likely to cause plaque.
So it's a quality improvement even if the total number doesn't plummet or even nudges up slightly. You're reducing the risk associated with the LDL you have.
That's a great way to put it. You're optimizing the quality, making the lipid profile less dangerous overall.
That makes a lot more sense. And this connects back to insulin sensitivity too, right? Through that inflammation pathway.
Directly. Remember that pro-inflammatory state from the omega-6 overload? Those inflammatory signals, the cytokines, they actually interfere with how your cells respond to insulin. They promote insulin resistance.
Okay.
So when omega-3 comes in and helps calm down that systemic inflammation...
It lets the insulin signals work better.
Exactly. It improves insulin sensitivity. And by doing that, you get knock-on benefits. Better glucose control, that improved LDL profile we just discussed, and overall lower cardiovascular risk, especially in conditions like prediabetes or metabolic syndrome. It's all connected.
Right. It's a systemic effect. Okay. Moving beyond general metabolic health, let's talk specific situations. Pregnancy seems like a non-negotiable area for omega-3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The evidence here is overwhelming. Supplementation, especially with DHA, is strongly recommended before conception, during pregnancy, and while breastfeeding. There's really no debate on that one.
And the core reason is fetal development.
Yes, particularly brain and eye development. DHA is a major structural component of the brain and the retina. Ensuring adequate intake is critical for building the baby's nervous system, the neuronal tube, vision, cognitive function. It's foundational.
Got it. Now, what about joint health? We often see omega-3 in formulas with things like collagen or magnesium for arthritis and stiffness. Is that legit?
There's a solid rationale for it, yeah. Again, it comes back to inflammation.
Yeah.
For inflammatory joint conditions like rheumatoid arthritis or even just general stiffness and pain driven by inflammation, omega-3 can help.
How does reducing inflammation translate to less joint pain in simple terms?
Think of those pro-inflammatory cytokines as alarm bells constantly ringing, causing swelling and irritation in the joints. Omega-3 helps to turn down the volume on those alarms.
So it doesn't repair cartilage, but it calms the inflammatory environment around the joint.
Exactly. It helps balance the immune response, reduces those pain-causing signals. It's often used as an adjuvant therapy, something that helps alongside other treatments or lifestyle changes, like, importantly, reducing your omega-6 intake.
Right, tackle the source. Makes sense. And related to inflammation, there's emerging research on brain health, too, beyond fetal development.
Yes, specifically looking at neuroinflammation. The thinking is similar. If omega-3 can calm systemic inflammation, can it also help with inflammation within the brain?
Which conditions are being looked at?
Well, the research is still developing, but studies are exploring potential benefits in conditions where neuroinflammation is a suspected factor, often alongside those metabolic issues we discussed. Things like vascular dementia, Alzheimer's disease, potentially Parkinson's.
Interesting. So the connection seems to be that link between systemic metabolic health, inflammation, and brain health.
That seems to be the thread, yes. Improve the body's overall inflammatory state, and you might positively impact the brain's environment, too. Still early days for definitive proof on some of these, but the link is strong.
Okay, we've covered a lot of the potential positives, but now we really need to pump the brakes and talk seriously about precautions and risks. This is vital.
Absolutely critical. Just because it's sold over the counter and derived from fish doesn't mean it's without potential side effects.
And the big one that cardiology groups are flagging now is atrial fibrillation, or AFib.
Yes, this is a significant concern. AFib is an irregular heartbeat, and it can lead to serious complications like stroke. There's growing evidence suggesting a potential link between higher doses of omega-3 and an increased risk of developing AFib.
And what counts as higher dose has changed, right? It used to be thought the risk was only at very high levels, like 5 grams a day or more.
Correct. But newer studies, some quite large, have suggested that an increased risk might start appearing at doses above just 2 grams per day.
2 grams, that's within the range many people might take, thinking more is better.
Exactly. And that's why this is so important. If you, the listener, have any history of heart rhythm problems, arrhythmias, palpitations, extrasystoles, anything like that, you absolutely must talk to your cardiologist before starting or increasing omega-3s.
So self-prescribing above that 2-3 gram mark, especially with a pre-existing heart condition, is really not advisable without medical supervision?
Definitely not. The potential risk needs to be weighed against the benefit by a professional who knows your history.
Okay, that's a major warning. And the other key risk factor is bleeding, because omega-3s have a natural anticoagulant effect.
Yes, they thin the blood slightly. This is crucial if you're already taking prescription blood thinners like warfarin, heparin, or even some of the newer ones.
So you can't just add omega-3 on top without checking.
Absolutely not. You need to inform your doctor about any supplements you're taking, but especially omega-3 if you're on anticoagulants.
Yeah.
They need to monitor you to ensure the combined effect doesn't increase your risk of bleeding too much.
Okay, so context and caution are key, which brings us back to, how do you know if you even need it? How can someone get objective data?
Well, the best way is to stop guessing and actually measure your levels. You can get an omega-3 index test.
Tell us about that. Is it complicated?
Not at all. It's typically a simple finger prick blood test. It measures the percentage of EPA and DHA in your red blood cell membranes, which gives a good picture of your long-term omega-3 status.
Okay, and what numbers should people be looking for on that test?
Ideally, you want your index to be 8% or higher. The sources suggest that's the optimal range associated with the most health benefits.
And what if it's lower?
If your index comes back below 6%, that generally indicates a deficiency. And supplementation or a significant dietary increase in omega-3 rich foods is likely warranted. An index between 6 and 8 is sort of an intermediate zone.
So testing first gives you a clear baseline and avoids unnecessary supplementation.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of it. Context is everything. If your diet is already rich in oily fish or very low in those high omega-6 processed foods, maybe your index is fine and you don't need more.
Right. Let's say someone tests low, decides to supplement. Fish oil quality varies hugely. What should they look for? There's the issue of oils going rancid, right?
Yes, lipid peroxidation is a real concern. These oils are fragile. First tip, look for supplements that also include an antioxidant, most commonly vitamin E.
Why vitamin E?
It helps protect the oil from oxidizing, from going rancid. Rancid oil isn't just ineffective, it can actually be pro-inflammatory itself, defeating the whole purpose.
Okay, so vitamin E for stability. What about purity? Worries about mercury or other contaminants?
Definitely look for third-party certifications on the label. Seals like IFOS, International Fish Oil Standards, or Friend of the Sea, indicate the product has been tested for purity, potency, and screened for heavy metals like mercury, PCBs, dioxins. It ensures you're getting a clean product.
Good advice. Look for those quality seals. And quickly, any difference between fish oil and krill oil?
Krill oil is another option. The omega-3s in krill are bound to phospholipids, not triglycerides like in most fish oil.
And that matters because...
It might improve bioavailability for some people, meaning it's easier to absorb. Also, people often report fewer digestive issues, like those fishy burps, with krill oil. It can be particularly helpful for individuals who have trouble digesting fats, maybe due to gallbladder issues.
And we mentioned microalgae oil earlier as the go-to for vegans.
Yes, an excellent source of direct EPA and DHA without involving animals. Quality testing is just as important there, too.
This has been incredibly helpful in cutting through the noise. Let's try to summarize the main takeaways for everyone listening. Omega-3 supplements clearly have solid evidence behind them, especially for tackling the inflammation tied to metabolic syndrome, definitely crucial during pregnancy and lactation, and showing promise for brain health issues linked to inflammation.
Right. But the key message is really caution and context. Don't just jump on the bandwagon because it's popular or seems natural.
Verify your need first, ideally with that omega-3 index test. And always consult your doctor if you have underlying health conditions, especially heart issues, or if you're on blood thinners. The dose matters.
Absolutely. And a final thought. Really consider the source of your symptoms. You might have joint pain, for instance, and think, inflammation, need omega-3. But maybe your pain is purely mechanical from, say, overdoing it at the gym, or it's structural wear and tear. It might have nothing to do with a systemic inflammatory state caused by that omega-6 imbalance.
So don't automatically assume omega-3 is the magic bullet without understanding the root cause.
Precisely. Check your index, talk to a professional, understand your personal context. The real value of omega-3 supplementation only comes when it's used appropriately, addressing a confirmed need. That's where the benefit lies.